Commitment, responsibility, pride, honor, tradition, excellence, heart. These are the elements that sculpt St. Thomas football. Commitment and responsibility to your school and community. Pride and honor in the tradition of excellence. And the heart it takes to live up to these expectations. It's been said that success is a journey, not a destination. In the autumn of 1997, the St. Thomas Cadets embarked on that journey. Overcame adversity, exceeded expectations, and proceeded to raise the bar. St. Thomas Academy is as steeped in tradition as any prep school in the country, and football is a large part of it. Whether cheering from the stands or suiting up on Friday nights, St. Thomas students, parents, faculty, staff, and alumni all take great pride in the tradition of striving to be the best you can be. Pushing yourself to the brink of your being, seeking excellence in everything you do, on the field and in the classroom. Team. The meaning goes beyond a group of players. It's taking time to grow with one another, to become and play as one. It's learning an instinct about the game. It's about becoming a family. The foundation for the '97 edition of cadet football was laid in the steamy days of August. With the overwhelming turnouts at captain's practice, Jim Miley, Pat Gilbert, and Brian Raggets knew they had a strong squad. The coaching staff, led by Bob Slater, would get their first chance to see the team in real action in their four-way scrimmage at Burnsville. But with a fairly young team, some decisions would have to be made before the season could start.
We have the potential to be very good. Right now we've got to fill some key areas. Quarterback, we have to figure out what we're going to do there. Running back, we have to figure out our halfback situation. We have to get some guys step up. Offensive line is real solid and has the potential to be really good. And I think on defense, same thing. Defensive line is real good. We have to solve problems at linebacker and figure out exactly who's going to play where in defensive backfield.
An impending quarterback controversy filled the atmosphere on the Burnsville warm-up field.
The two guys going for quarterback are Bob Fenlon, who is senior, and Dave Reiser Jr. And after today and Monday, there won't be a controversy.
When all is said and done, it'll come down to really a decision on the part of the coaching staff. You know, who's the best guy to have at quarterback, and should the other guy move to wide receiver?
The offensive line dug in and opened the holes for the backs. Xavier Smith found light and picked his way upfield. The defense stood their ground and tried to shut the Burnsville offense down. Neither quarterback wavered as the coaches had hoped to have an easy decision. Monday evening, they would come home for a tough test with St. Paul City Conference powerhouse and longtime rival, Cretin-Durham Hall. David Rye started a season-long obsession and connected with Bob Fenlon. Rye directed Xavier Smith upfield for some more green. The defense is key to get to work. Gabe Kittredge took the lead on the way to stopping Cretin's rush. The coverage was loose, so Coach Slater offers some direction.
Take here, all right? We want tight coverage.
Kittredge again pushed his coverage to the limit. The D, however, does get stung. Jim Miley had to come across the field to make the play. Ox had more advice.
Scrimmage. You might have to give up a couple yards to fall back in.
Fenlon got his shot as the quarterback.
Good.
Brian Petchel walks in and defiantly swats the ball down as the defense continually hurries the CDH quarterback. Overall, the cadets performed well at Burnsville and against Cretin-Durham Hall. But the road ahead will test the resolve of each cadet every time he steps on the field. In the St. Paul Suburban Conference, the conference road always winds its way through Hastings. This year, the Cadets again started their season across the Mississippi against the Raiders.
Hastings is picked by a lot of people to be the best team in the conference. They've got a lot of speed. Team speed is their strength, and I think they're still a little bit angry about the way we treated them last year, so they've got a little revenge motive.
Well, I'm hoping the offensive line will be able to wear them down. We have a very good offensive line, and if everyone stays healthy during the game and we get some consistency going, I think they'll have a hard time standing up against us.
Hastings, winning the toss, elected to defer. So Xavier Smith opened the season with a 17-yard return from the 6. And then another 12 yards on the first play from scrimmage. David Rye turned it up a notch for the Cadets as he hit wide receiver Bob Fenlon for a pickup of 19. And back again to Xavier Smith, who bolted through the Hastings defenders for another 9 yards. The Cadets were on the move as they worked their way toward the goal line. The Raiders hung tough and shut St. Thomas down with 3 consecutive incompletions, forcing the Tommies to turn the ball over on downs. The St. Thomas defense had ideas of their own, though, as D-end Mike Burkhart picked up the runner and led a swarm of Cadets to the play. Defensive back Dan Wolkerstorfer saw the end zone too early and missed a possible interception when he stepped in front of an errant pass.
Hey, that's all right.
On 3rd and 8, St. Thomas' throat swelled as the Raiders found an open receiver for 56 yards before Wolkerstorfer could run him down and make the tackle. Raider offsides on 3rd and 1 sparked the St. Thomas defenders as they stopped them short of the first down. Hastings elected to go for the first down on 4th and short, but St. Thomas came through in grand fashion and sacked the Raider quarterback for a 9-yard loss and Cadet first down. The offense picked up where they left off. David Rye connects with Bob Fenlon on a screen play and gets 6 yards. But then a miscue. The ball is dropped on the handoff and Hastings recovered the fumble. Despite the offensive problems, the St. Thomas defense played their game. Gabe Kittredge, Mike Burkhart, Adam Mutter, and Pat Gilbert combined for another sack and a 10-yard loss. St. Thomas took it back as defensive end Kurt Hines causes the fumble while lineman Mike Flanagan covered the loose ball. As the second quarter starts, St. Thomas has possession on their own 41. Bob Slater had to swallow hard as Ethan Keller almost created another STA turnover on a 9-yard scamper. The Cadets, however, would not give up. Rye looked again for Fenlon and found him on the left for a 14-yard gain. In a hurry, there's a miscommunication and St. Thomas called a timeout.
Reg! Take a timeout.
Xavier Smith pounded out a couple of yards. Smith found another hole and worked his way down near the 10-yard line for a first down. St. Thomas pushed towards the goal, but Hastings came up big and threw Rye for a loss and another turnover on downs. Coming into their own, the defense holds Hastings without a first down and forced them to punt. Fenlon signaled for the fair catch, and St. Thomas took possession on their own 49. With 3:35 left on the first half clock and the scoreboard still showing zeros, St. Thomas was determined to put some points on the board before the half could end. David Rye zeroed in on Bob Fenlon, an 18-yard gainer. Running back Dusty Wilhelmy picked a lane for 8 yards. David Rye, choosing to auto, went back to Fenlon for 12 yards and another first down as they grind their way to the goal line. Running back Xavier Smith added his 2 yards. And it was back to Fenlon on a 10-yard pass play to the front corner of the end zone for the season's first touchdown. Hitting the extra point, St. Thomas takes the lead 7-0. With 32 seconds left in the half, Hastings storms the field with hopes of evening the score, but the Cadet defenders played tight coverage and end the half with the lead. Kicking off the second half, Cadet defenders wasted no time.
That's a good job. That's it. Yeah, we got it, we got it, we got it!
Causing and recovering a fumble, setting up the offense and Xavier Smith for another score and a 14-point lead. The St. Thomas defense continued its assault. After the quarterback were Gabe Kittredge and Dan Wilkerstorfer and Mike Burkhardt. Linebacker Jim Miley dealt a deadly blow. Wilkerstorfer almost came up with an interception again. Mike Burkhardt, Pat Gilbert, and Tony Abbott smothered the Raider runner. In the fourth quarter, Hastings was on their way in, but St. Thomas would have the chance to stop them. 4th and 4 on the 15-yard line. Mike Burkhardt ran past the defenders and pounced on the Hastings quarterback, stopping the Raider drive. With just under 5 minutes remaining, Dusty Wilhelmy capped off a 62-yard drive on a 7-yard end run to put the Tommies up 21-0. In the last moments of the game, the reserves did allow Hastings to score, but St. Thomas ended the game with a slash in the win column to start out the 1997 campaign. Eyewitness News even flew by to check out the action.
We've only won down here once. We wanted to come down big. They were picked to win with us. We wanted to come down and show everybody who the #1 team in the conference is.
It turned out pretty well. I think it was a good opener to the season. Hastings was supposed to, I guess they were favored to win this, and we came out and we pretty much manhandled them, and I think that's a good thing.
We'll celebrate tonight, and we'll start thinking about Woodbury tomorrow morning.
Defensive ends, make sure we meet every lead block properly.
Week 2 brought the Cadets home to Jerry Brown Field, where they would face a frenzied Woodbury team. Xavier Smith electrified the crowd as he started off the game with a 38-yard return to the 48. St. Thomas started their march behind the power of Xavier Smith. On 4th and 1, Smith pounded out 2 yards to keep the Cadets moving. But a foolish delay penalty leaves St. Thomas 4th down and 2. Unable to complete the pass, Woodbury took over on downs. The defense took the field with zeros in mind. 0 yardage for Woodbury. Pat Gilbert bursts through the line for a Royals loss. Gilbert and Wilkerstorfer apply the pressure, forcing Woodbury to punt. Taking possession on the 17, St. Thomas went back to the ground. But on a stray David Rye pass, an interception stopped the Cadets cold. Up against a wall, the defense tried to stop Woodbury again. The Royals go to the air as defensive back Nate Howard sent a statement. When illegal motion and clipping penalties send Woodbury back to the 23-yard line, St. Thomas bore down. The Cadet backfield got lucky. And Gabe Kittredge hurried the quarterback who overthrew the end zone, returning the ball to the St. Thomas offense. St. Thomas got a first down behind Xavier Smith. But when David Rye overthrows Bob Fenlon on 3rd down and 7, they were forced to give it up again. A bad snap on the punt attempt put St. Thomas behind the 8 ball, giving Woodbury prime field position on the Cadet 31. As Woodbury made a charge for the end zone, St. Thomas tried for containment. When they can no longer hold out, the Royals penetrate the end zone and take the lead 7-0. The offense took the field again, restlessly trying to get something going. The Cadets looked to Jay Markert, Xavier Smith, and Tom Sullivan, but the Woodbury defense rallied again to stop the Cadets. Woodbury pushes toward the goal. But the Cadet defenders halt their attack at the 10, compelling the Royals to kick the field goal. Now down by 10, David Rye and company anxiously took the field to mount an assault. Wasting no time, Rye looked deep and found a wide-open Dusty Wilhelmy for 41 yards to the Woodbury 38. Xavier Smith gets the call for 3 and 7 yards for a first down. However, penalties and incompletions being the flavor of the game, St. Thomas found the punt team necessary again. Another botched punt attempt left the Royals attacking from the Cadet 46. Whatever the troubles with the offense, the defense was not willing to give up. Kittredge and Burkhardt led the pursuit. Burkhardt and Gilbert busted their blocks and dropped the quarterback for an 8-yard loss, forcing Woodbury to punt again. When the offense took the field, David Rye looked for Bob Fenlon. Xavier Smith made a gainless effort. Jay Markert gets nothing as well, bringing the punt team back into play. Woodbury took the field for one last effort before time ran out. But position play by Connor Murphy foiled the attempt as the half ended, Woodbury leading 10-0. Coach Slater had no kind words in the locker room.
I'll say this, you are not ready to play football, you are playing out of fear, and you are not playing like a very proud team. You get your stuff together. Go out there, you're playing for St. Thomas. That means something. That means something.
Inspired, the St. Thomas defense came out of the locker room to create opportunities for the offense. In the second half, Woodbury received the kick and started from the 24-yard line. Hines and Gabe Kittredge met the Royals runner at the line, giving up nothing. Pat Gilbert met the runner at the line and, with Nate Howard's help, holds him to 3. And on 3rd and 6, when the quarterback can't find an open receiver, Hines and Burkhardt make the hits for a Woodbury loss. After the Woodbury punt goes out of bounds, St. Thomas took over on their own 43. Xavier Smith picked a hole for an 11-yard gain. But after a pair of penalties, the Cadets found themselves with 31 yards to travel for a first down. David Rye connected with Bob Fenlon for 20 yards, putting the Cadets back to 2nd and 11. St. Thomas is finally on the move as Dusty Wilhelmy fought for a first down. Xavier Smith punched through to the end zone, bringing the Tommies hope and getting them back in the game. The extra point, good. St. Thomas cuts the deficit to 3. A Woodbury screen pass ran into a merciless Brian Regetz as the third quarter came to an end. However, The offense's inability to sustain a drive continued and is capped off by a Woodbury interception, leaving the Cadets with their first conference loss in 2 years. Week 3 brought the Cadets to Park of Cottage Grove. Intensity and determination were the call of the evening after the previous week's poor performance. Park had slated this night as their homecoming and would live to regret it. In the locker room before the game, Coach Slater renewed a custom of past Cadet squads.
We are a team. We are together. We are champions. We are excellent. Go play excellent. Let's go.
St. Thomas would start on defense, taking personally the taunts they caught from the Park players and fans. After sending the Wolfpack 3 and out, Nate Howard set the tone and returned the punt 68 yards to the Park 1-yard line. Taking it from there, Xavier Smith commenced a career night, easily scoring the Cadets' first points of the evening. Missing the extra point, St. Thomas jumped off to an early lead, 6-0. On the kickoff, the Cadets found themselves in the driver's seat again as Mike Burkhart recovered the Park fumble. Wasting no time, the Cadets make haste for the end zone again. Dusty Wilhelmy spurts through for 16 yards and a 1st and goal. David Rye chooses air, and Bob Fenlon for 5 yards to the 1. Smith shot through the Wolfpack defenders for his second trip to the end zone. This time, the Cadets hit the extra point to go up 13-0. The kick team giving no ground. Jim Miley slashed in and stunned the Park returner. Tony Abbott cut down the Park running back in full stride. Gabe Kittredge and Mike Reif led an assault across the line for negative Park yardage. Cadet defenders were determined to stop Park again as Adam Motter hooked in for the tackle and started a pile, forcing the punt. With 168-yard return already, Nate Howard takes the call again and resumes his dredging for yardage and picked up another 38. After 2 incomplete passes, the Cadets' 4th and 10, David Rye found wide-open running back Tom Sullivan for 15 yards and a 1st and goal. From the 10, Xavier Smith cut a path upfield and wound up across the goal line for his 3rd touchdown of the game. The extra point makes it Cadets 20, Wolfpack 0. On the ensuing drive, St. Thomas did give Park some yardage, but managed to still keep them out at midfield, punting again. When Bob Fenlon elected to let the ball go, it tumbles out of bounds at the 8-yard line. The offense took the field with confidence. After throwing an incomplete pass, David Rye directed Xavier Smith up the right side. Smith picked his hole and burned a trail 92 yards to the goal line. His 4th score of the game. Another extra point brought the score to 27-0. Behind the leadership of Jim Miley, Pat Gilbert, and Adam Motter, the defenders held Park. Under relentless Cadet pursuit, Park crumbled 3 and out again. On the punt return this time, Nate Howard was only able to scrape out 8 yards. Through the second quarter, the offense slowed and ended up punting twice. Defensively, however, St. Thomas continued to starve Park of yardage. Jim Miley and Gabe Kittredge were a force. Nate Howard returned another punt, this time for 26 yards. On top of the 140 yards returning he already had, Howard came up with an interception as the ball fell into his hands, popping off the Park receiver's chest. Captain Pat Gilbert and defensive end Mike Burkhardt put the pressure on the quarterback as a company of cadets guarded the man downfield to bring the first half to a close. St. Thomas 27, Park 0. Even though the first quarter went well, there was advice to be had.
It's very small sometimes. 4th and a half a yard. 2 mental mistakes and we lose 28 yards in yardage. That can't happen with a great team. That's the difference between a great team and a good team. Make the circle smaller. We want to receive the second half. All right, let's go. Let's go!
Taking the ball on the 20, the offense was on the slide. David Rye did connect with Bob Fenlon, but the play was called back on a holding penalty, eventually forcing the punt. Back on defense, the cadets started to follow their offensive teammates. The Wolfpack drove 41 yards and finished with a 14-yard touchdown run by the quarterback for their first points of the game. With the extra point, the score was now 27-7. Still not firing on all cylinders, the offense made another poor attempt at a drive. David Rye almost threw it away before the cadets again felt the need to punt. The cadets gave up 29 yards as the Wolfpack is starting to howl. Kurt Hines made a valiant effort, breaking up the play for a loss on 3rd down and 4. Park elected to go for the field goal, but tried a fake that failed miserably. The offense took the ball on the 20 and finally found light again. David Rye hands off to Xavier Smith. Pounding through the line, Smith sped his way upfield, taking on 82 yards before he would reach the end zone for his 5th touchdown of the night. The cadet defense continued their effort, but Park was able to come up with a play to get on the board again. Cadets 34, Wolfpack 14. As far as points, Xavier Smith was not finished cranking the scoreboard yet. On 2nd and 7, he broke through again and bolted by the secondary for a 40-yard scoring effort. Extra point makes 41 to Park's 14. Xavier would score a 7th touchdown. This time, a 33-yarder to round out his night. Cadet reserves would also strike blood from the Wolfpack. Tom Sullivan broke loose for 53 yards. And Jay Markert crashed his way into the end zone. A disastrous game for the Wolfpack at a score of 54-27. The victory is bittersweet for the cadets. However, they do now realize the potential weapons they have.
You know, I guess everyone's a little disappointed in how much we gave up. Defense's main goal this week was a shutout, and we didn't get a chance to get that. But the win's a win, and we played real strong throughout the whole game.
Week 4 would see the cadets return home for a non-conference matchup with the highly rated Owatonna. The goal of the game for St. Thomas was to continue improving and contain Owatonna's offense.
Owatonna is an outstanding team. They're in first place in the Big 9 Conference, and they are really good. They're probably the best team we're going to play this year until we get to the playoffs. And they scare the daylights out of us.
We have the size advantage and strength advantage, but they are very quick, so we have got to use our strength to our advantage.
Owatonna took the offensive first, mounting a 16-play, 80-yard scoring drive, catching the cadet defense not quite on track yet. Missing the extra point, the Huskies took a 6-0 lead. The St. Thomas offense came out in a flurry. David Rye hands off to Xavier Smith, who raced for 56 yards. Dusty Wilhelmy for 5. Bob Fenlon helps out for 3. Xavier Smith capped off the drive, sneaking across the line behind blockers Joe Franciscovich, Dusty Wilhelmy, and Joe Hanrahan, taking up where he left off last week. A kick through the uprights put the Cadets up by 1, 7-6. The defense came back storming. Wolkerstorfer and Hines start a gang tackle. When Owatonna can only pick up 2 yards on 3rd and 11, St. Thomas took over again. To open the second quarter, Xavier Smith cruised for 34 yards to the Huskies' 12-yard line. Dusty Wilhelmy got a shot and burst through the hole for 7 yards. Xavier Smith saw an opening to the end zone and popped through for his second touchdown of the game. The extra point gives St. Thomas 14 and an 8-point lead.
Andrew, good job. Way to get down in that tackle.
The St. Thomas defense came out hitting hard. A troop of cadets swarmed the passer. Kittredge and Burkhardt teamed up for another sack. Bob Fenlon misjudged the ball, and the cadets are trapped at their own 1.
All right, I want Dusty as a receiver, though. All right, so make sure Dusty's at right half.
David Rye immediately made a connection with Dusty Wilhelmy for 49 yards.
I called that.
A moment later, it's Rye to Wilhelmy again for another 37 yards. Rye scrambled for 8 yards and a 1st and goal. But finally, Xavier Smith racks up the points as he took it in again for his 3rd score of the game.
Yeah, fantastic.
Owatonna blocked the extra point to make the score 20-6 in favor of the Cadets. In the second half, St. Thomas receives the ball. On a squib kick, the ball ended up in the hands of Adam Motter, who actually returned it about 15 yards. When David Rye is injured on an errant pass play, the Cadets were forced to punt. The St. Thomas sideline recoiled when Owatonna completed a 35-yard pass. But a fumble recovery by Adam Motter stopped the Huskies in their tracks. Bob Fenlon came in to take the reins for the injured Rye. Doing the work for the offense, Dusty Wilhelmy and Xavier Smith heed the call. Bob Fenlon took the ball upfield for 18 yards. Xavier Smith for 5 and 10 yards. After the holding penalty, Fenlon scrambled again for the 1st down, but comes up just shy, and Owatonna took over on downs. But the St. Thomas defense was relentless and gave the offense another opportunity with the ball. A fumble going in on the 2 is recovered by Owatonna, and St. Thomas was surprised to be back on the defensive. However, a quick interception by Dan Wolkerstorfer, and the Cadets are back in business.
All right, second off.
When fullback Dustin Fleming tried again from the 2, this time the ball stays with him as he tacked on the final points of the game. Extra point made it 27-6, St. Thomas Academy. Week 5, the Cadets traveled to Oakdale to meet arch-rival Tartan. It was, by all accounts, a miserable game for St. Thomas, miserable for the entire community, as the Cadets were spanked by 34 Titan points. But not just the loss. It brought to question the integrity and togetherness of the team. Many of the Cadets found themselves soul-searching after the Tartan game, wondering what they had to do to find consistency in their play. The 34-15 loss to Tartan may have served to awaken a distracted St. Thomas team. Week 6 was Parents' Night at Jerry Brown Field as the seniors honored their loved ones before playing host to Simley.
Hey, let's make sure we sing tonight. Let's make sure we sing at the end of the game, and let's have fun, all right? Let's have a good game now.
The Cadets have a long tradition of serving Simley up for dinner, especially on their home field. Kicking off to start the game, the cadet defense again reaffirmed their dominance, forcing Simley to punt from their own 17 on their opening possession. Taking a St. Thomas bounce, the ball went out of bounds at Simley's 39-yard line. Starting slow, Rye threw an incomplete pass to Wilhelmy in the end zone on 4th and 4 and gave the ball back to the Spartans. Making a defensive statement were Gabe Kittredge and Andy Hernandez as they stopped the Spartan runner short. Simley did, however, make gains. But the Cadets were able to stop them on 4th and 4 to take the ball back. Again sputtering, the offense went 3 and out. On the punt, the ball took another St. Thomas bounce and Simley was pinned at their 5. On 2nd and 7, Jim Miley stretched to tip a pass away from the Spartan receiver. And with 0 gain on 3rd and 7, Simley was forced to punt again. The short punt and fair catch gave the Cadet offense prime field position on the Simley 33. On 2nd and 10, Xavier Smith worked his way through Spartan tacklers and downfield for 34 yards and the first points of the game. The extra point made it 7-0 Cadets. The defense taking the field stuffed Simley for a loss of 2 yards. And Miley and Burkhart pressured the quarterback into throwing an incompletion. Another incompletion forced the Spartans to punt. The offense took the ball back on the 43-yard line. Rye to Wilhelmy for 9 yards. Starting out the second quarter, 4th and 2, Xavier Smith again burned a path to the end zone for another Cadet touchdown. Sean O'Farrell's extra point made the score 14-0 in favor of the Cadets. Forcing the Spartans to punt again, St. Thomas took the ball on their own 19-yard line. Xavier Smith took the call and ground his way 24 yards to the 48. Rye connected with Fenlon for a 13-yard gainer. David Rye directed Ethan Keller toward the goal line for 18 yards down to the 5. And Xavier Smith again picked his way through the Simley defenders for a 5-yard touchdown, his 3rd of the game. After the missed extra point, the score was St. Thomas 20, Simley nothing. The defense again showed determination. A pack stopped the Simley runner for a gain of 1 on 1st down. Regetz and Hernandez stopped the Spartans for a loss on 2nd down. And another pack stopped the quarterback short on 3rd, forcing Simley to punt again. The first half ended 20-0 with the Cadets in the lead.
Let's play with blue pride. Do not let up. You are playing against yourselves to meet your own expectations. All right? Now let's go.
In the 3rd quarter, the Cadet offense slipped back into a lull, taking on penalties and throwing incomplete passes. In the 4th quarter, the Cadets did manage to mount a 62-yard scoring drive. Xavier Smith ran to the right and crossed the goal line for 14 yards and his 4th touchdown of the game. Missing the extra point left St. Thomas with a 26-0 lead. The reserves gave up 2 touchdowns and left the final score at St. Thomas 26, Simley 14. Week 7, St. Thomas was home again. Homecoming versus Henry Sibley, a longtime neighborhood rivalry. The Cadets kicked off and took the defensive, again committed to holding the opposition's offense to little or no yardage. Miley and Motter started off holding the Warriors runner to a 1-yard gain. Gilbert and Burkhart pressured the passer and almost came up with a sack. On 3rd and long, Burkhart did get that sack and threw the Sibley quarterback for a 3-yard loss, forcing the punt. Nate Howard took the punt and ran it back 12 yards to put the Cadets on the offensive. From the 29, Dusty Wilhelmy picked a large hole and scampered in for the Cadets' first touchdown of the night. The extra point put the Tommies on the board at 7-0. On their second drive, the Warriors did gain some ground, but the Cadet defenders held tough and forced a punt. On the punt play, Sibley tried a fake, but failed to gain the 10 yards required for a first down. St. Thomas took over on their own 27. Rye going right away to the air and a completion to Connor Murphy and 36 yards. And another 7 yards on a screen to Bob Fenlon. Xavier Smith pounded out another 7 yards to the Sibley 23. Then to Dusty Wilhelmy for 8 yards. And back to Smith for 12 more yards. And then a 3-yard punch into the end zone. Another extra point put the Cadets up by 14 points. In the second quarter, the St. Thomas defense again gave up some yardage. But that was put to rest when Pat Gilbert pressured the quarterback into throwing an errant pass, which was picked off by Gabe Kittredge, who ran it back for 62 yards and a St. Thomas touchdown. A bad snap on the extra point left St. Thomas with a 20-0 lead. Back on the field again, the Cadet defense continued their relentless attack. Pat Gilbert got a sack for -3 Warrior yards. Gilbert and Burkhart pursued for a Sibley loss of 13 yards, again forcing the punt. Taking the field again, the offense got in sync. Rye directed Tom Sullivan upfield for a gain of 12. Smith picked a route around the end for 16 yards. And again for another 10 yards. And back to Sullivan for 12 yards. Rye connected with Connor Murphy for 30 yards through the air, but offensive pass interference called that one back. Back on the ground, Xavier Smith ran for 19 yards to the Sibley 27. Trying the passing game again, Rye connected with Wilhelmy for 14 yards to the Sibley 13. Wilhelmy finished the drive with a right drive to the goal for another Cadet score. A made extra point gave the Tommies 27 points to round out the first half. To start the second half, Xavier Smith excited the troops with a 37-yard kickoff return. Not getting a second first down, the Cadets were almost forced to punt until the Warriors took an offside penalty and gave the Cadets a 4th and 1 instead of a 4th and 6. Bob Slater sent the offense back out where Xavier Smith was able to pick up 3 yards and a Sibley face masking for 5 yards and the first down. The Cadets worked the ball down to the Sibley 10, but again failed to get the first down and turned the ball over to Sibley. The St. Thomas defense again applied the pressure and forced another Warrior punt. The offense took over on the 29-yard line, now with Bob Fenlon at the helm, and started to grind out yardage behind Xavier Smith and Tom Sullivan. Tom Sullivan capped the 71-yard drive and the Cadets scoring with a 24-yard burst for the end zone. After the reserves finished the game, the Cadets marked a 34-7 victory on the score sheet and stood with a record of 5-2 on the season so far. Week 8 took the Cadets north to meet the Polars of North St. Paul and a more challenging contest. The Polars of '97 were the best team North St. Paul had seen in 20 years and one of the conference leaders. St. Thomas made the trip, determined to knock the Polars off of their pedestal.
They believe tonight that they can beat St. Thomas. This is an unbelievable position for them to be in. All right? This is where you got to show class. This is where you have to show the fortitude of a champion. Let's go win a game.
North kicked off to St. Thomas, and the Cadets started off on their 28-yard line. David Rye connected with Bob Fenlon for 7 yards. Xavier Smith ground out 6 yards. Then, after an incompletion and a 5-yard loss, Rye again found Bob Fenlon for 39 yards. The cadets worked their way down to the 1, only to be called for a 10-yard holding penalty. On the next play, David Rye took to the air and threw an interception in the end zone to give North the ball on their own 20. The defense wasn't going to let North St. Paul start, though, and put the Polars 3 and out, forcing the punt. The St. Thomas offense started on the Polar 49 and wound up the ground game again. Another holding penalty stopped them in their tracks, and they were forced to punt. The Polars drove the ball to the St. Thomas 25 before the cadets could stop them on 4th and long to take the ball back. St. Thomas got a first down behind Xavier Smith, but incomplete passes again forced them to punt. With the Polars on their own 47-yard line, they broke a 46-yard run to the Cadet 11. But the Tommy defenders weren't ready to give up any points. A cadet swarm led by Andy Hernandez and Tony Abbott pushed the Polars back and caused a fumble, giving St. Thomas the ball on the 19-yard line. The cadet offense took the field, determined to put some points on the board before halftime. Rye hit Connor Murphy with passes of 10 yards and 13 yards. Rye went to Ethan Keller for 26 yards. Ending up 4th and 5 on the 19, Bob Slater and company elected to go for the field goal and came away with 3 points to end the half. Cadets 3, Polars 0. At halftime outside the locker room, Coach Berg advised Coach Slater what else they could do to bolster their lead.
Play goes ways. This guy works with that. We don't need him on the front side. He ain't going to make me play hard. Just a discipline.
In the locker room, Coach Slater encouraged and tried to inspire the team.
We want to run the ball and smash mouth, all right? But we got to have those backs running hard. We got to have that line blocking hard, okay? Let's smash them. Let's go, all right? Let's go, White.
In the third quarter, Chris Piper led the swarm through the line as the cadets stopped the North runner for a short gain. The cadets this time weren't able to stop the North ground attack as they broke plays of 18, 13, and 10 yards for a touchdown. The extra point put the Polars up by 4 points at 7-3. Back on the attack, David Rye went to Bob Fenlon in the air. A penalty left them 2nd and 15. Back in the air to Connor Murphy for a gain of 30 yards. But another incompletion forced St. Thomas to give it up on downs. Defensively, the cadets held their ground. Pat Gilbert led the way to the stop. Miley and Daniels hold the Polar runner to short yardage. Miley and Hernandez made the play to bring up a Polar 4th and 11 and force the punt. In the fourth quarter, taking the ball on their own 39, the cadets made a final assault. Smith got the call and pounded his way through the Polar defenders and took it down the sideline 61 yards for a cadet touchdown. The extra point gave the Tommies a 10-7 lead. The defense now had the job of keeping the Polars from scoring. Kittredge sacked the quarterback for a loss of 13 yards. Gilbert dropped another Polar for -5 yards. Nate Howard froze the final Polar attack with an interception on the 17-yard line, putting the game and conference championship out of Polar reach.
We've been hearing so much this week about how good North was, and they didn't let us down all night. So we came out, a little fire in our bellies, and the defense kept us in the game and gave the offense some chances to capitalize. So this one is credited all to the defense.
They came out real hard, and I think we played a good game. Defensively, I think we played an awesome game. Offensively, we couldn't get it going for about half the game, I think, but we came through when it counted.
They easily were one of the favorites in the conference, and for us to come out here and play a game today like we did, I think that's a good momentum gainer on our way into the playoffs.
The one thing that is never lacking in St. Thomas football is heart, and this, the first week of the playoff season, was no exception. The exception was, however, the cadets' missing offensive coordinator. Dave Zebarth was away because of the passing of his mother, and every cadet on the team had a hole in his heart as a result of Coach Z's absence. Coach Slater left the team with a special message in the locker room before the game.
He's put as much or more into preparing you as men
and as individuals as he has coaching you. And I tried to think in my time here at St. Thomas if we've ever talked about really what to play for. And I've always said play for yourself, play for each other. And tonight I'm asking you to play for Z. Let him have something to look forward to come back to. We are a team. We are together. We're going to be champions. We are excellent. Let's go.
Do for C! To advance, the cadets would need to defeat Farmington, a small school, but one with a good football program.
We're going to have to just break it down to one-on-one and beat the guy across the line from us. We're trying to keep it real simple.
St. Thomas kicked off and again took the defensive first. The cadet defenders were inspired after the Slater talk in the locker room. Mike Flanagan, Pat Gilbert, and Mike Burkhardt led the assault. Gabe Kittredge followed up with an assault of his own. Kittredge and Wolkerstorfer stopped the Farmington runners short of the first down, sending the Tigers 3 and out. The offense took over on the 28, but were also forced to punt after Xavier Smith gains of 5 and 3 yards and missed the first down. Taking over on their own 10, Farmington again faced a tough cadet defense and went 3 and out. The offense, which would score 4 touchdowns on the night, one in each of the 4 quarters, now also inspired, mounted their first strike. David Rye started in the air for 14 yards to Bob Fenlon, and another to Fenlon for 18 yards. Xavier Smith led the way with runs of 9 yards, another for 7, and capped the drive by picking a hole into the end zone for the touchdown. Sean O'Farrell's extra point made it 7-0 for the Tommies. In the second quarter, the cadets started at their own 38. David Rye let one fly to Tom Sullivan for 32 yards. Xavier Smith added 16 yards on the ground. But after an incomplete pass and missed field goal attempt, the defense was called on again. Cadet defenders heeded the call and forced the Tigers to punt again. With the ball back in their possession, the offense decided it was again time. Xavier Smith stole 65 yards and ended up in the end zone for the second touchdown of the game. The extra point made it 14-0 for the Cadets. At halftime, Coach Slater tried to solve minor problems and reinforce the Cadets' play.
Right behind the offensive line, smash them out, take their hearts right out of their guts. All right? Let's go have a good half now. Come on, let's go.
The Cadets came out for the third quarter, ready again for business. David Rye directed Dusty Wilhelmy upfield for 19 yards. Tom Sullivan took the call for 13 yards. Xavier Smith broke loose for 17 yards and a first down. Back to Wilhelmy for another 12 yards. And concluding the drive, Rye handed off to Smith for a 3-yard touchdown run. O'Farrell hit the extra point again and made the score 21-0 in favor of the Cadets. St. Thomas defenders applied more pressure. Burkhardt hurried the Tiger quarterback, forcing an incompletion. And a troop of cadets hurried him again, forcing the Farmington leader to overthrow his receiver and bringing on the punt squad. The fourth quarter brought more Tommy offense. Tom Sullivan scampered for 11 yards. Wilhelmy goes for 7. Smith took on another 16 yards. Rye scrambled for 12 yards. And Ethan Keller capped the scoring on the night with a 10-yard run for a touchdown.
Nice run. Nice run. 1.
The extra point made the final score St. Thomas 28, Farmington 0. The victory over Farmington reassured the cadets of their power and weapons that would carry them to state, and also allowed another week for Coach Z to return.
Good game, man.
The section semifinal brought Week 6 opponent Simley back to Jerry Brown Field at St. Thomas Academy. As Simley found out, a second round against the Cadets would not be any easier. The defense took their turn first and immediately showed the Spartans who owned this house. Tommy defenders teamed up and stopped the Spartan runner for a 1-yard gain. Kittredge and Gilbert led another pack for -2 Spartan yards. Next, Kittredge jumped on a Simley fumble, giving the Cadet offense an early possession. Xavier Smith took the cue and pounded right down for a 22-yard touchdown. The O'Farrell extra point made it 7-0 Cadets. Back came the defense.
Good, Tony. Good job.
Burkhardt and Miley joined forces for 0 Spartan yards. Then, Nate Howard gave it back to the St. Thomas offense with an interception on the Cadet 48. The Tommy offense didn't get far as they turned it over with an interception and left the Spartans going in from the 39. The Spartans took advantage and scored 2 plays later on a 25-yard run and tied the score at 7. The next St. Thomas scoring drive came in the second quarter, when the Spartans kicked a short punt and Nate Howard returned it to the 20-yard line. Tom Sullivan took the call and went around the end for 6 yards. Xavier Smith pounded out 8 yards. David Rye sent Smith with the ball for 10 yards and a first down. Dusty Wilhelmy took his turn next and picked up 14 yards and another first down. Bob Fenlon caught a screen for 4 yards. Then back to Xavier Smith for 30. A section final versus Highland, a team with a better seed in the section tournament, forced the Cadets to travel to St. Paul Central to meet the Scots. No matter, St. Thomas was ready to play anywhere. The conditions of the evening, they felt, played to their advantage instead of Highland's.
It'll be, and if it gets rainy and real sloppy, it'll become too stronger. And that, I think, will be to our advantage.
Let's go, Cat!
The Cadets stuck mostly to the ground game. Xavier Smith sloppily tried to pound out yardage. Dusty Wilhelmy took his turn. The defense was relentless and played their typical smash-mouth style in the mud. The offense finally mounted a drive behind Xavier Smith as he was able to find some footing. Smith finally sloshed through for a 4-yard touchdown. The extra point gave St. Thomas a 7-0 lead. The Scots were unable to use their speed against the Cadets' defense in the mud. Gabe Kittredge rushed in and threw the Scots for a loss. Connor Murphy came up with an interception to give the ball back to the Cadet offense. The second quarter saw more of the same. The offense continued the ground assault behind Wilhelmy and Smith. Turnovers were no stranger to this contest. Connor Murphy came up with another interception. Xavier Smith continued on the ground. Bob Fenlon caught a watermelon ball for a gain of 16 yards. David Rye scrambled to the left for 6 yards. Bob Fenlon caught another pass for 13 yards. And Xavier Smith slipped through the Highland defense for a 27-yard touchdown to put the Cadets up 13-0. The defense applied more slimy pressure. Burkhardt and Kittredge jumped the quarterback, causing a fumble, which Jim Miley eventually recovered. Back at work, Xavier Smith poured into the end zone after 17 sloppy yards. Missing the 2-point conversion, St. Thomas now had a 19-0 lead. After the first half, the video cameras stopped working, but the Cadets went on, scored 14 more points, and captured the section championship with a resounding 33-6 defeat of Highland. At the post-game pizza party, the parents and fans were jubilant over the Cadets' victory.
Great after a win. win, and especially a win like tonight in the sections, it's just phenomenal.
I think the better part of 10 years since St. Thomas has won section, it's quite a feat.
I was trying to just run hard and show that they can stop our offense no matter what they did. Even if they knew our plays, we were just going to try and smash it on them. And it turned out working out really well.
Are you going to edit this?
Yes.
Oh, I'm feeling just wonderful. I'm a little hungry right now, though. I'd love to eat some pizza.
The first round of the state tournament brought the cadets to Spring Lake Park, where they were to face the Class AAA tournament favorite.
They are really a good team. We had a great week of practice. The kids have been really focused.
Best week of practice we've had this year. There's nothing I can say to them to get them more ready.
You have to have that quiet, confident resolve the champions have. Whether you're a champion at football, or a champion in business, or a champion in law, or medicine, or education, or whatever you do, there's a confidence that comes forward from people who know how to go about things the right way.
The defense took the field first and wanted to make a good show of it. However, this was a tough quest against a strong team of Panthers. Gilbert and Miley stopped the Panther runner at 3 yards on the first play. Miley and Flanagan stopped the second at 2 yards. The third play, however, caught the cadet defenders off guard, and Spring Lake Park completed a pass for 50 yards to the St. Thomas 6, where the Panthers punched it in for the first strike of the game. With the extra point, the score was 7-0 Spring Lake Park. The St. Thomas offense started off behind Xavier Smith and Tom Sullivan. Bob Fenlon caught a pass for 6 yards. But the cadets eventually lost the ball on a Xavier Smith fumble. The defense came back and held the Panthers. Brian Regetz threw the Panthers for a 6-yard loss. Gilbert made a stop for short park yardage, forcing the punt. David Rye went to Wilhelmy for a first down. But when Rye was sacked for 14 yards and Xavier Smith couldn't get it back, the cadets were forced to punt. In the second quarter, the Panthers struck again, throwing another pass, this time for 37 yards and a touchdown. The extra point made the score Panthers 14, Cadets 0. With the offense back on the field, penalties and incompletions stopped the Cadets cold. The first half ended 14-0 with the Cadets behind the 8 ball. The coaches tried to get the offense back on track.
Play with heart and let what happens happen, but don't come back into this locker room afterwards and say, oh God, I wish I'd played harder. Offensive line, you haven't played at all yet. How about if we put 2 quarters of awesome football together, huh? Are you with me? Yeah. Do it!
Again, in the second half, the offense sputtered and tried to get things to click. It was not there now. The defense built a barrier and continued to shut the Panthers down throughout the second half. Late in the fourth quarter, the offense started an assault. David Rye found Nate Howard deep in the right for 27 yards. Incompletions almost spoiled it, but then Rye connected with Connor Murphy for a 27-yard touchdown pass. The extra point made it 14-7 Panthers, but the cadet effort would prove too little too late. The clock ran out with the defense unable to stop it. The dream was lost, but not without a valiant effort. Even so, cadet heads hung low.
You gave it a go, all right? You played with your hearts. You left it all out here. That's all anybody can ask. Keep your heads high. We'll talk when we get back to school, all right? Be proud, all right? You did a good job, all right? You came back the second half. You didn't give in. You played your asses off. That's all we wanted to do.
We all felt we could really blow them out, and defense just kept on pumping and kept on driving, and we were just hoping that offense could set up a drive, and they did at the end. And unfortunately, we just couldn't finish it off. But you know, my hat's off to Spring Lake Park. They played a great game.
Since August, you know, we made a promise to each other we'd still be playing in November, and here we are. And it's been a heck of a season. The guys have stuck together since August, so we got nothing to be ashamed of. You know, we've gone farther than any St. Thomas team since 1989, so we got a lot to be proud of this year. That certainly wasn't the way we wanted to go out, but you know, we do class.
seldom in a young man's life does he have the opportunity to be a part of history. With a section championship and their first
berth in the state tournament in quite some time, the cadets of 97
provided proof of their renewed pride in the long tradition of excellence and commitment to the sport. Commitment to the community, and commitment to the team as they etch their own entry into the annals of St. Thomas football history. And yet it won't be the victories or defeats that remain the most vivid of memories. It won't be the triumphs or tragedies. It will be the friendships forged through a season of determination and enduring spirit. It will be the honor of donning the blue on a Friday night. It will be the heart and the camaraderie shared between teammates. It will be the realization of the elements that empowered them to raise the bar.